And just for those of you who are new, introduce myself and this organization, and then I'll turn it over to Rabbi Shere for the first of her sessions. So, um, the Jewish Collaborative of Orange County is an independent nonprofit that um, hosts programs that are both local and national. And the Advanced Learning Institute is one of our national programs. We meet every Monday morning at 9:30 Pacific, 12:30 lunchtime Eastern. And it's a chance for me to engage some of my colleagues and enable them to share their great Torah and wisdom with uh, people that might not know who they are or have a chance to experience what makes their love of Judaism so special. And Rabbi Sher is somebody who actually went to my rabbinic. Uh, she went to my training institution, but before I did. And we were both raised in Detroit, although she is much younger than I. And she took a job at a congregation in Michigan. And in fact, my father's congregation, he'll be here soon, and has been a close friend of our families for a long time. And she and I have become dear colleagues over the years. And at a certain point, Rabbi Sher transitioned from congregational life to really working as a spiritual leader in the greater Detroit community. I'm going to give her an opportunity to share a little bit about the organization she works for, and then we'll dive into this learning. And again, thank you for being here. Um, and we hope we all get to know each other over the course of the next 3 weeks. Take it away, Rachel.
All right. Thank you so much, Marcia, for asking me, Rabbi Cantor, Marcia, for asking me to be a part of this. I really appreciate it. And I am in awe of all that you do and all that you do so masterfully. So it's an honor. And I adore your father. So I hope he's here. Asher, are you here yet?
Not yet, but he's
Okay.
come.
Um, all right. So I currently work for kind of my dream job is with Jewish Hospice and Chaplaincy Network, and we're an organization in Detroit. There isn't another one like us in the rest of the country. And what we do is we work with medical hospices and palliative care units and anyone who has a life-altering illness that they are not going to get better from. They don't need to be specifically in hospice care. And we provide them with really like quality of life issues, anything from a rabbi, obviously someone to come in and discuss spiritual concerns, but we also have art and music and massage and hair and nails and reflexology and all these specialists who come out to your house or to wherever you're living, whatever kind of a facility you're living in, and just really enhance your quality of life. And we don't do any medical care, but we work with all of the medical hospices in town to ensure that the Jewish patients, anyone who's Jewish adjacent, if you're married to a Jewish person or you have a Jewish child or sibling or in some way you are part of the Jewish community, we serve you and we never charge for our services, which is a really nice something that we just rely on the generosity of the community that people will pay it forward. So when I was in the pulpit, I really found that working at end of life, whether it was being with people as they were transitioning and dying, or working with their families afterwards in bereavement and grief, were really what I enjoyed the most, what I found the most meaningful. That and teaching Torah. So in my current job, I get to do both, and I love it, and I'm grateful that you're all here today. So let's start with the first slide. Marcia's going to put the slides up for me. I haven't done a Zoom since 2021, so it's I'm grateful to be doing it today, but the technology of it isn't fresh in my mind. So, are you able to put the first slide, Marcia?
Yeah, I am. I'm
Oh,
getting
awesome.
back.
So the first slide is just a picture, and I'm looking for you guys to.
Oh, you know what I'm going to do for Rachel? What I want to do is I have your link. I'm going to put it in the chat. so that if people want to open it for themselves.
Oh, okay. Is there a way to do it without the with just the pictures and not the like California Zoom part? Or not?
Yes. Yep, there is. And
Okay. Awesome.
everybody now, you should have it in the chat,
So
just so
if
you
you want to
know.
download it and print it out or just look at it,
And I'm going to share it too. Hang on. Can you all see it?
the way I see it on my screen is just like a little piece of it. I don't see the whole piece. I just see a little, like the top of it.
Okay, so let me reshare. I'm going to stop share, and now I'm going to share again.
And I'm going to ask a question, and then you can unmute if people want to unmute themselves to answer the question. I'm going to rely on Rabbi Tilshin. Do you like to be called Cantor Tilshin, Rabbi Chazan? What can I?
You can call me whatever you want.
Chazan.
Okay.
Okay. I will rely on Chazan to call on you, and then you can unmute yourselves.
Okay, so is everybody seeing, is this good?
I think so. Let me.
Beautiful.
You can somewhat. Yes, I think you can see it pretty well.
It looks like a Peter Max drawing from the 1970s. So
Um,
that's what that is.
so if you can, for the future slides, if it's possible to just have the picture without the whole, yeah, go back to the first one. Yep. Awesome. I find it a tiny bit distracting to see like the California Zoom and all the other things. So if it's possible to just like, it's fine. You know what? It's totally fine. Everyone can see it. Yes, you can see it. Okay,
Yes.
awesome. So let's, what I want to know is what you see when you look at this picture. Because we are going to be talking about the soul today, and there are a lot of great sources in Judaism. But I want to start with just this: looking at this, what do you see? So you can just unmute yourself and tell us what's the first thing you see.
First thing I see is the name of God in Hebrew.
Okay,
Yeah.
where do you see
Yud
the name
Hey,
of
Yud Hey Vav Hey, vertically.
God? Okay, great. Thank you. And what does it look like? What is the shape of the name of God?
A dollar candle.
Yeah.
Okay, it looks like a candle. Great. So the name of God, we see the Yud Hey Vav Hey, which is pronounced how? I mean, you can't really pronounce it, right? There's that people will say Hashem or they'll say Adonai, but if you really try to say it, it's like a breath. Okay, so we have the name of God down the middle, and then it looks like a candle is coming from it. What is the shape of the Yud Hey Vav Hey? It's not written out horizontally. It's written out vertically for a reason.
Looks like a human body.
Excellent. Yes, it absolutely looks like a human body. So this idea that we are made in the image of God is like embodied here in this picture, that we are a representative, like we are a piece of the divine fire that is in this world representing God. Absolutely. What does it mean to be made in the image of God? To have, people are so aware that when you drop a siddur, like you need to kiss it, right? Because it was, because it fell on the ground. But I don't know that people are as aware. Not only people don't just have the name of God written in them, we are a piece of God. So it's like when people fall in any way, metaphorically, spiritually, gosh, all the more so we want to embrace them, hug them, hold them, because we are a part of God. What else do we see in this picture?
Well, it's also embedded or I guess embedded is a good word in the Mogen David.
Yes, exactly. It's like right in front of the Star of David. And what does the Star of David represent to you?
Judaism and the Jewish religion.
Okay. Looks a bit like an angel to me. Someone just
I like that. Oh, I like that.
So the Magen David, the Star of David, one could see that also as being two delta signs, like delta being the triangle, and delta stands for what? Like in science, change, right? Delta is change. So in some ways, the Jewish star is a symbol of protector. I like that. Magen means shield or protector. But it's this idea of change, that the world that we're in is always, there's some changes that bring us up, some changes that bring us down, some souls going up, some souls coming down. That the Star of David represents this upward and downward flow, this idea that the physical material world is one of constant change.
Interesting.
Okay, so then where does it look like this human divine hybrid is kind of located? Yeah, at the bottom you can kind of see, what does that look like? Again, there's no right answers here.
That looks like, it looks like the world, maybe.
It does. It looks like this human being is kind of this human divine. I like that compass. It looks like this being is kind of has its like feet on the earth, but then the rest of it is kind of part of something bigger, right? It has part of itself on the physical material plane of the earth, or this lower realm, and then it's sort of also part of this great light that's expanding. There's these ripples of light, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you see, like, I just want to make sure everyone sees, like, in the yud, the top letter is kind of like the head of the human, and then the hey is the shoulders, the vav then is the spine, and the hey is the lower, like the waist and the legs. There is a nice meditation you can do sometimes where you just imagine like the divine, like in your head, in your shoulders, in your torso, in your lower half. And you just kind of imagine this divine breath, the going up and down. And this idea, it's a spiritual realm with a 3D ladder. Where's the ladder? Let's see. I do see it. I see a ladder. So we could see it as like Jacob's ladder, where the angels are going up and down the ladder. It actually says in the Torah, the angels are going down and up the ladder, up and down and up and down. So it implies that they're here on earth, and then they go up and then they come down. But that here, we'll be talking about angels next week. So I'm not going to get too much into angels right now. But this picture, I think, is going to frame our conversations for all 3 weeks about what it means to be a human in this physical world, but to be more than human, to be part of something so much greater.
Who designed
I
it?
don't know who made this. I found it probably at least 15 years ago somewhere, and it didn't have a name attached to it. And now I haven't been able to connect it back. So if there's a way to like reverse Google search it or something, I haven't found out yet. If someone figures out, I'd love to put an attribution to who created this. Okay. And we see the ripples of light that are coming forth from this human divine. All right. Anything else on that? I'm not seeing anyone's faces. I'm just seeing like the list of names. So let me see if I can see the faces too, so that I can see if you're all with me here. See participants. But the spiritual lane, it's on like the spiritual plane, it's on like the current rung, plus looks like I can't read the last word. Oh, looks like, wow, you all have amazing things to say.
Mandela. Mandela.
Love that. Oh my goodness.
But I think that
Reading what you
what's
wrote now. Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry. What's in with the mandala, the pink and the white, that seems to me the more you were talking about angels and the divine, and that's resting there, but with
Wow.
with the universe, and the universe is that mandala for me. Well, the universe is maybe the mandala, but the ripples of the orange and the yellow, and the divine is right with us, and the head, the yud, but also closer than anything. I mean, it just like supersedes what the universe. It's there. It's right above. It's just like, here we are. This is us, and this is the universe, and this is the divine. surrounding
that.
us.
You know what I'd never noticed before until one of you pointed out that it looks, I think two people have pointed this out now, that I've never noticed this before, that it kind of looks like the pink and white and red at the top. It does look a little bit like angel's wings coming.
Right.
I looked at this so many times and I've never noticed that. So thank you for pointing that out. There's definitely a angelic, because why would that white part be there? What does it represent? Right?
No,
It does look
it could represent the white of a flame.
like
Like I mean, I mean I'm maybe more literal, but when when at the very tip of a fire, it is actually white. So I
very,
Could be heaven, the white.
oh, absolutely.
It also looks like an oil flask where they would keep olive oil, like a candle. And
Ah.
the candle is burning.
Yes.
And as the substance of the candle is used up, it goes up to heaven, just like the human has a lifetime of a oil, container of oil. You use it up, and then eventually the soul goes up to heaven.
Yes. Yes. So true. And then it does look like at the bottom, there's kind of this sort of like subterranean level. It's like below the physical earth. Like somehow there's another level, which, we'll get to that in another class. But what is that level too? The level that's like not even in the material world, but it's also not in this like realm of light. Where is that? The sort of roots of the whole thing. You see what I'm talking about there? Yeah. Okay. Anyone else have a thought on this? And do you want to continue on the next slide? You just nod if you're ready. Okay. So the next slide has like the Hebrew word for the soul, the neshama, right? And the slide, I guess before, I also want to, why do you think that I chose this particular slide with all what do you think this represents? The hearts and the lines and the circle.
we're all connected in love, really.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you. We're going to see that again, time and time again. So the first line in the Torah where we really learn, what we're made of. This was in last week's Torah portion, of course. Does anyone want to read the Hebrew here?
I'm happy to do that.
Okay, great.
Vayetzer Adonai Elohim et ha'adam afar min ha'adama vayifach be'apav nishmat chaim.
Okay, beautiful. So the translation that I wrote, which is I can give it to a more exact translation, but what this is saying is every human being has two parts: the dust of the earth and the breath of God. Vayetzer Adonai Elohim, and God created the human at Ha'adam, afar min ha'adama, dust from the earth. Vayipach be'apav, and God blew into the nostrils of this physical, this earthliness. So there's an earthliness that God kind of collects. God blows into the nostrils of this, and it becomes a neshama, God blows the breath of life into it, and it becomes alive. Vayipach be'apav nishmat chaim. God causes it to come to life by blowing the neshama in, by blowing a piece of God's self into this first being. So we're essentially, from that time on, every human being has this breath of God. We're being breathed by something greater than ourselves all the time. It's just running through us. We don't breathe. We are breathed by this divine breath that runs through us. Okay. Any questions about that? As if a string, I'm reading what people are writing, looks to me like how confused I am after the lot. Yeah. Oh, that's so true. I love what Shere wrote. Looks to me like how confused I am after the loss of my husband and trying to comprehend it with my heart. I love that, because this diagram here with the hearts and the soul, it is kind of like when they show those, the stages of grief. And there aren't really stages. People think that Elizabeth Kubler Ross said that there are stages, and it goes from denial to anger to bargaining to depression to acceptance. But she really never meant it like that. And she meant that there are different stages that people go through, whether it's facing their own death or after the death of a loved one. But we go through it like not in a specific order, and it's complicated. And you go to one, and then you go to another, and there are many more stages in between. But it's not linear in any way. And I've seen a lot of graphs that show the way that bereavement and grief look a lot more like this complicated jumble. Let's see how confused I am. I love that. I'm just trying to see what other people wrote. Maybe it's also a soul diagram extending a connection to God at the top and the physical world at the bottom. Yes. And Julian wrote, as if on a string with all soul dimensions of the human or the angel in a straight line. Oh, that's fascinating. All right. So then I wrote, because I just think this is the way that I see it, the way that Judaism sees it. Each day that we spend in the physical world, we are a human expression of the divine, a finite expression of that which is infinite. We are here on earth for a relatively short journey, spiritual beings having a physical experience, God's masterpieces, pieces of the master. So we've heard the word masterpiece before, but I don't know that we recognize that really it's talking about being a piece of the master, a small breath of this great being that is Yud He Vav He, this massive being that's so much bigger than any one of us can ever possibly fathom. Again, you probably heard this phrase before, spiritual beings having a physical experience. A lot of times people say like, oh, I had this spiritual experience, but that's not the way we understand it. As Jews, we understand that we are spiritual beings. That is what we are. We are here to have physical experiences, to be in, we call it earth school, this place where we can learn things so that our neshama, so that our soul can evolve. And we'll get to this, but like, what's the purpose of a neshama even descending into this world? What's the purpose of having, this piece of God that's in the material world for a finite amount of time? Why are we here? And a short answer is to evolve our own soul, to reach higher and higher levels, which in turn evolves the world into higher and higher levels. Also crossed with maths, probability diagram, and maybe some kind of quantum physics. Yes, I do want to get into quantum physics a little bit. Quantum entanglement is an idea that fascinates me, which we'll look at in a future class when I'm doing a little more of the science aspects of this. But there are all sorts of principles in science and physics that overlap with what our ancient tradition has been saying for 3,000 years. We've been saying some of the things that scientists and physicists and people who work for NASA are currently talking about in the science world, in the material world. The dots look like atoms, except the shape. I love it. Beautiful. Okay, so then the next thing I wrote was our bodies are the hardware, which are meant to be always downloading and live streaming material from the cloud. So think about ourselves, think about our physical being as hardware, like the computer, that, it gets outdated. How many of you have a computer that's even more than, let's say, 7 years old? The hardware grows old and is no longer relevant, but what's being downloaded into it continuously evolves. So we are always trying to download and live stream the divine presence. Okay. Do Jews believe in reincarnation? Yes, we're going to talk about that. And I think it's the second class. Gilgul, we call it Gilgul Nishamot, which means the recycling of souls. Gilgul comes from like Ma'agal, a circle, and it means that the souls go and come about again and again. We'll talk more about that another time, but thank you, Barbara, for that question. Soul never ends, Francine said. I'm really appreciating everything you all have to say. If you want to unmute and ask a question or say something, please feel free, or you have a comment. Can you move it up, down a little bit so we can read the bottom of the page?
Yes.
Azam? Thank you
Yes.
so much. Oh, nope, go back. I just want to read that. Yep, the bottom of page 2. Yep. The characteristics of being a material being and living in a physical world form a heavy veil, which often obscures the knowledge of our divine source. Okay, so we're in these physical bodies, and there's this veil that prevents us from seeing, like, that we're truly part of something so much bigger. When I was a kid, I used to go to Tiger Stadium, the Detroit, where the Tigers play. And there were these obstructed view seats. They were a little less expensive, but there was like a big pole in front of where you were sitting. And you knew that you were in the obstructed view seats. I think in life, we are in the obstructed view seats, but we don't realize it. We think that we're seeing everything. And even though our prayers and our tradition tells us over and over, lo tatur acharei nechem, don't go astray after your eyes. Don't think that your eyes are seeing the full reality. You know, you think about when our people sort of sinned in the Torah, like the biggest times were when they built, right, the golden calf, because they didn't see Moses and they were afraid that there was no one to lead them. So they built something physical, right? And the second time, does anyone want to say, what was the second like big sin in the Torah that our people made? It's with when the 12 spies go into the land and they look and they go into Israel after a year. They've been traveling from slavery. They finally get to the promised land. And these are leaders, the leaders of the people. And they look and they see that those there are so large, and everyone looks too big, and they feel overwhelmed, and they feel like there's no way that they're going to be able to go into the land and live in the land of Israel. They think that after everything that God has done for them, they have no faith that they will be able to live in the land. Except, interestingly enough, there's 2 of the 12. There's 2 who do believe. That's Joshua and Caleb. Okay, and what we get, and they are the 2 who are allowed to go into the land. Ultimately, God says, you know what? If you don't believe, after everything I've done, after I brought you out of slavery and split the sea and the plagues and gave you the 10 commandments and led you by day with a cloud and by night with a pillar of fire, and brought you this far so you could see the land, if at this point you don't believe it, then you know your whole generation is going to need to die out, because you only believe what you can see with your eyes. You have a slave mentality. You have a materially bounded sense of what's possible. So 39 years they wander after that. They got to Israel after 1 year. They had to wander so that whole generation could pass. And then Joshua and Caleb are the only ones who can enter the land. Interestingly enough, and this is a slight aside, but it relates. One of the reasons we have 10 people for Minyan every day is to make up for the fact that there were 10 people who let their fear overcome their faith. They were so afraid of what they saw that they didn't believe in what they knew in their hearts. They lost sight of what they knew spiritually to be true. So every day we get together with 10 people to say, please, let's not allow our fear to be bigger than our faith. Let's be the antidote to those 10 faithless people who literally sacrificed their entry into the promised land. However you want to see the promised land in your life, they didn't get to where they were meant to go. Their neshamot couldn't evolve as they were meant to because of their fear, because of their lack of ability to look beyond what their eyes could see. Lo taturu acharei nechem, we're told. We say that every day in the Shema. Don't go astray after your eyes. This isn't necessarily a commandment to not look at, beautiful women or whatever people think when they say don't go astray after your eyes. It might include that, but it's really saying don't think that what you see is the ultimate reality. Okay, any questions on that before I move on?
Very cool. Very lovely the way you
Okay.
explained that.
Yes, I appreciate what Julian said, and we will be looking at some things from Shara Gilgulim. So thank you. All right. So I like to talk about body and soul. We're made of a body and a soul, dust and divinity, human and lumen. Human, is a word that comes from the earth. The word human in Latin, it means earthliness, like, and lumen, of course, is like light. So I have a lot of other kind of ways that I like to talk about this. We're matter and magic. So all of these things. So I wanted to give you some metaphors, some ways to think about this. All right. So what do we see in the first one? Let's just look at the candle for a moment. So can someone, I'm used to like really interactive teaching. So this is so odd for me to just keep talking. I'd love it if someone would say what they see here and how this makes them think of the relationship between God and human beings, body and soul. You guys have got this. Come on.
Well, I'm going to start with just to say that there's one candle lighting another. And what's fascinating about the way fire works is that when you pass it on, it never diminishes. It's never giving a piece of itself to be lesser than. There's just more fire, more warmth, more love to be shared.
Okay. Absolutely. I have a question for you all. Am I looking at you if I look like this or if I look like this? First one or second one?
Second.
Okay. I just can't. I haven't been leading a Zoom since 2021, so I don't remember exactly where to look. Thank you. I want to be able to like make eye contact with you. It's so strange to be teaching and not have you right there with me, but I'm really grateful that you're all here. So yes, the light, just as our Chazan just taught us, there's this, I think one way to really think about God is this pilot light, this divine light that is so infinite. Like think about when you go into synagogue and you look at the Ner Tamid, that's the eternal light. Okay, so that's divinity, that's God. And then that each one of us is like a little candle. And we take from that light and we get our little lifetime, whatever it is, to take that candle and share the light wherever we go, whoever we're around. And the people that we're around the most, they get the most of our light. They absorb it. It's like a Havdalah candle. Our light gets braided in with theirs because we're with them so much. But God gives us this light and then we carry it around and we share it with others. And then when our light then returns to the divine pilot, the people that our light has touched, they still carry it. Our divine, our neshama, our soul is still being carried around the world because we've shared it like a shamus candle. We've shared our light. And I think that one way of understanding this also is that the body is like the wax. Okay, so our bodies, from the moment that we take our first breath, the wax is kind of, going down. It might seem depressing, but it is. That's just the leading cause of death is birth. Like everyone who is born will eventually die. It's just, we all have an expiration date. And this idea that the candle is our physical being and it's our flesh, and the light though is what is our soul. And for some of us, the candle will slowly burn down and our light will have a very long time to be shared and to be experienced. And for others, sadly, it will just could go out in a moment, an accident, something that is, that we would have never guessed. Our body doesn't necessarily like slowly melt like a candle. But the good news there is if we've shared our light while it was attached to the oil, while it was attached to the physical self, the light then does continue. Okay, so that's the first metaphor. Does anyone have another question or a thought about that metaphor? Now I can see you all. I couldn't see you before. I kind of have to choose between seeing you and seeing my text. I'd rather see you because I know what's in my text and I trust our Chazan that she can move it along. So the next one is the rental car, right? You see all the rental cars, budget, pay less, hurts. So another metaphor that I really like when thinking about our relationship to our soul is that we essentially come here from somewhere beyond. We're dropped down by a plane, like somewhere in the other realm. We get dropped into this world, and then we rent a car. This is our car. This is our physical being. You know, some people get a Porsche or a Mercedes, and some people get a car that's sort of like barely chugging along. It's all, you know, lots of jalopy. It's been through a lot. Who knows? You don't get to choose what you get, but you make the most of what you have, and it's your vehicle to get through the physical world. It takes you where you need to go, where you want to go in the physical world. And it can be challenging because it's bound to like the physical world. It can break down, you know, and it doesn't seem fair. Sometimes other people have one that seems like, you know, better in some way than yours, but you just take good care of what you receive, knowing that you'll need to return that car before you take off for your next adventure. It's just yours for a small time. You're renting it. Okay, so that's one of the reasons that we take such good care of the body after our soul leaves it, because, you know, you don't trash the hotel room after you leave. You take good care of your rental car or your rental space, your hotel room. You know, that our body is held. It's been the precious vessel for our soul for all these years. So we want to take care of the vessel that holds our soul. It makes it easier to experience our soul, to feel our soul, if we are in a body that is being cared for. The rabbis in the Talmud, there's some, you know, really funny, popular stories about rabbis going to like the sauna or the gym and saying, I'm going to do something very religious right now. And the other rabbi saying, really? Like, looks like you got your gym bag there. And they say, well, that is a very religious act. I need to take care of the vessel that is holding my spirit. Okay. Anyone want to unmute and add anything or any thoughts you have about these metaphors? So far, I have a couple more metaphors. You all with me? Yeah. Okay, good. Okay. We're going to go to the next page now. You can see a lamp plugged into the wall. Can you nod if you see it? Okay, great. So, because I can't see that page anymore. Now I can just see your beautiful faces. So the lamp plugged into the wall. Now, okay, I'm going to stop talking. I want one of you to tell me. You got to know, you're going to know my metaphors. How is this related to the soul and the divine, or the body and the soul, God's presence and us? This one might be a little more challenging, but nothing you say is wrong. They're all just different ways of interpreting.
Right. And I'm just going to say, don't make me call on you, and I will. No, I'm just kidding.
It looks like Shar is going to say something.
Yeah, so it looks like plug into the light, like people plug into the light.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay. Thank you. That's a really good start. We need to plug into something bigger than ourselves. We need to be connected to something bigger that I see this percolating for Shar, for everyone. This idea that like we are the lamp. We are this, like I said, we are like the computer itself, but we need to be plugged into something greater in order for the light to shine. If you just have that lamp there and it's not plugged into the outlet, it's not going to work. We're not going to see the light, right? If it's plugged into something greater, then the electricity can flow through it. When we have God's breath in us, we're alive. I mean, when you look at someone who's passed away, even if they hadn't moved or done they've been like in a coma for days, there's something really different after they pass. You just see that the breath of God is no longer in them. You can just see that it's like the lamp isn't plugged in anymore. You know, you see something has changed. It's an empty vessel. So the electricity source is the divine. That's our neshama, that's our soul, but we are like the lamp. And as Shar said, then once we are plugged in, we provide light to others. Like that's what we're here for. Again, we're not just downloading God's presence and God's word. We're downloading it and live streaming it right? You all know what live streaming is, right? So we are here to provide light to others all the time, even when we are in a really dark place. You know, in some ways, like when we're in the darkest place, if you light like a little candle, you light a match in a really dark room, it makes a much bigger difference than lighting a match in a bright room. So when things are the darkest, that's when we're called upon to like just find that little bit of light, just to start. And when the world seems really dark, we're called upon to just take our little tiny candle, whatever it is, and bring it out there and shine it, because again, it makes such a big difference. When it's already light and bright, our light is great, but it doesn't add nearly as much as when it's a dark space, a dark room.
This also implies that we have a trust issue here. We have to trust that when, I mean, we know because we're all in 20th, 21st century, that if you plug in a plug, probably the lamp's going to light. But if you come from some other world and you see this, can you get the trust to say, okay, let me see what happens here? You know, is there something that's going to really help us or help me? I think that's a real trust thing.
Love that. Emunah, faith, right? Trust or faith.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And like if you're the lamp, you don't necessarily know where you're getting the electricity from.
Right.
You don't know what's making you light up and sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes the electricity goes out. You know, sometimes we don't feel the divine presence flowing through us. But in those times, it's hard to shine a light. But I think it's always there. It's just a question of whether we're plugged into it. I think that the electrical current is always there, but sometimes we unplug ourselves. And we have to then remember to recharge, to re-plug in. Shar, did you have something else?
I did. I was thinking like of a literal lamp, and the lamp has to be on the on spot in order, it can't be dialed off.
Ah,
It's got to be dialed on, which to me represents humanity. Like you have to have some willingness to get out of your normal way of thinking in order for the light to shine through you.
I love that's even better than what I was saying. I love that because it's saying we are always like plugged in, but we have to turn it on. You know, we have to turn it. We have to push the button or turn the lamp. It's not going to just turn itself on. We are connected to the electrical source. We are connected to God, but we choose every day whether we're going to flip that switch or not. Right? That's what you're saying, or did I just?
Yeah. And it's not, it's like, it comes about for us, but we have to be in some kind of, a lamp that has a dead bulb in it will not turn out, will not turn on. And if we're dead inside, or if I'm dead inside and in so much despair, then the light won't shine.
Exactly.
If there's no light bulb in there, there's no hope.
Exactly. I feel like in some ways we're here in this world to like walk around and look and see if other people need a little help, either like flipping the switch or turning it in a little, tighter, or changing the bulb. Like we know that electricity is meant to be flowing through everyone, but we walk around and we see that there are some lights that are just not shining, or they're flickering on and off. And maybe part of our role here is to be lamp-lighters. In fact, I'll talk about that another time. I want to get through that last metaphor. Is this class supposed to be 1 hour? You can, or more than 1 hour?
It's scheduled for an hour, but people often stay. Meaning, some people will have something to go to, but you can talk. You can go. You can go.
I'll end after 1 hour, but if anyone has it, because I have a lot of sources here we might not get through all today. Some of them will carry over to next time, but I'll stop sort of introducing new material at 1:30, and then if anyone wants to stay and like ask me a question or something, we can do that.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Yes.
Okay. Excellent.
I just want to say one thing that is really worth thinking about. In a traditional light source like a lamp, as you noted, there are many different components, and if any one of them are broken, meaning if the cord isn't able to transmit the electricity from the wall to the lamp, even though there's electricity in the wall and the lamp could light, that's a problem. If the switch, if the twisty thing that turns on the bulb, even if the current is flowing, there's a way to cut it off so that it doesn't, you don't burn out the bulb unnecessarily. That, or if the bulb is broken. So those are all different ways of thinking about, I would say, how to prevent the unification
Mhm.
of the body and the soul. There are different ways that they can get in the way. And then also I started to think about the whole metaphor of solar power and how that that works too, which is, I feel like there's some Torah there. I just haven't ever thought about
Oh,
before.
yes. You know what? My next sheet of metaphors, I'm going to add that because I do feel like we are all rays of the sun. I mean, there's more to it, but I love that idea that in some ways, like the sun is this like big orb, but then there's the individual rays that we each carry. And it's a lot of times when I'm watching a sunset, a really beautiful sunset, I think about the fact that right after it goes over the horizon, the orb is like people that we can see. It's like our, our loved ones. They are this big bright light. But at some point they go beyond this physical world. And while we can't see them anymore, one, we know, at least, as Jews, we know that they exist somewhere, just not, we can't see them. But two, what I love is when you see all the rays of pink and, blue and yellow, and it's like all gorgeous. Right after you can't see the orb anymore, you see all the light that it left behind. And that to me is in some ways what it means to stand in the room after someone has passed. It's so heartbreaking, but also if we can just absorb those beautiful lights that have been, that are left, that are lingering.
I think, I think going back to that is something very interesting to me is how we, like, the light goes out, but do we have a little bit of light to bring it to the next person? Or the breath of a person goes out of them because they pass. But still, I mean, my experience is that there are times when I feel this overwhelming, I don't know if it's breath or light or something that's still in the room. And does that pass to those of us who are in the room?
Absolutely.
Maybe it does.
Are you talking specifically about the people who are in the room when someone passes away, or?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you always say, I mean, one of the things that you hear is uh, that, and it's true. I mean, it's a great loss when you lose somebody, but a precious light has left the world, but hasn't,
Right.
or do we get it, or some of it anyway?
Amen. Yes. Yes. I love the way you put that, Sylvia. Absolutely. Has it really left? Where is it gone? Or is it just over the horizon? And is it in us? And so, and we're gonna, that is really what this course is exploring. Like that is really what, I mean, that the laws of thermodynamics, right? They say that energy isn't created or destroyed, right? It just changes form. It's one of
Right.
the most basic laws of thermodynamics. And the Lubavitcher Rebbe quoted that. And he said, if that's true in the physical realm, where, we can actually see things, then how much more so in the spiritual realm, that energy just changes form. It doesn't get created or destroyed. Um, think about what if you have a block of ice, it's very clear. It's hard, it's heavy, then it melts into water, and then you can boil it and it turns into steam and you can't see it. Where are those water molecules? Where is that ice?
Oh yeah, and when you think about the sunset, when you're watching the sunset, it's actually already over. But when you're watching a beautiful sunset and the sun is already down somewhere else, somebody else is watching it. So, but you're getting the leftover light. Something really interesting to think about. Thank you. Wow.
You are. This is so odd being on Zoom. Like, again, I'm sorry. I can't imagine that for like 2 years, that's all we saw was the little black boxes. And I love being able to see those of you have your camera on. Now I also remember why all my kids' teachers were saying, turn your camera on, because it's like easier to have a conversation. But I also understand how sometimes we're not camera ready or we're trying to do a few things at the same time. So not trying to knock those of you who don't, but I really do appreciate seeing your faces. It's easier to tell if you're, with me. We're all in the same place. So thank you. Thank you. Let's look at that last one. What do you see there? We see like the ocean and a wave, right? So there's this story that is told the midrash that there's a there's this little wave and this big wave, and they're kind of going along in the ocean, and the little wave all of a sudden sees that, oh my goodness, we're going to crash into the shore. Like something really scary is about to happen. And it says, do you see that? Do you see the shoreline? Like, I think we're about to hit it. This is terrifying. Like, how can I pull back? And the larger wave says, it's okay. You're not a wave. You're the ocean. None of us is a wave. We are the ocean. So when you hit the shore, you then become part of something bigger. You don't disappear, right? You just become part of something large. So then the question everyone wants to know, and this I hope that we will be able to explore in our next 2 sessions, is, well, do we continue as an individual wave and also as part of the ocean, or are we just completely part of something totally different than we ever were, and our individuality is obliterated? I don't think that's the case. But this one metaphor kind of makes it seem like maybe we do completely become part of something bigger and our individuality is completely gone. That's not the case, but just this idea of either like a flame returning to the pilot or a wave returning to the ocean. These are metaphors that are used in our tradition and in other traditions. One thing I find so incredible about the ideas that we find in our texts, in our ancient texts, is that so many other traditions have similar texts and similar ideas. Like there's this overarching kind of truth with a big T that can be seen in many different languages and many different metaphors, but we're all saying something kind of similar. Any questions there?
Yes, I was going to say something. Sorry, my camera's not working, but okay. All the pictures you have shown, the candles, the wave, they're all an exchange of energy to matter or matter to energy. And if you look at the universe, if you exist in the universe, there's only 2 things that exist in the universe. That is energy or matter. And there's that fine point in quantum physics where this energy exchanges from matter. And you just mentioned when you were looking at sunset, you feel like you're part of the sun. Well, technically you are, because basically all life on Earth is based on light energy from the sun. The food you eat is really sunlight. And then you eat that food, so you're eating sunlight. The materials the minerals that we find on Earth, all our elements, are mostly from ancient stars.
Yeah.
So there's this whole quantum physics where you got energy and matter, and it's constantly changing. The question is, where is the soul in between this? Is there, and
well, it's a really great point. And I mean, isn't matter just energy vibrating at a slower
that's right. So, right, exactly. It's just a different vibration. Or actually, well, energy is what's inside you get energy from taking apart matter.
Yeah.
Okay. It all comes back to the atom. So matter is our atoms, and energy is what you get when you either break apart the atom or break apart molecules. That's where you get the energy.
So I'm gonna clarify what you just said or add on to it. I think just not everyone is like a science person,
right? Yeah.
But a very simple way of thinking about it is like we think of a cell or an atom. We think of an atom as a like concrete piece of matter. But when you take an atom apart, we're all made up of atoms. Everything is made up of atoms. It's just energy. It's protons and electrons, essentially like doing a dance. They're
Right.
moving. They're
They're
constantly
doing a dance. Exactly. So
doing a dance.
like you got basically what we call forces of natures. There are four forces of nature, which so the one force, the one that's most common in the universe, but the least is what we call the gravitational force.
It
So
pulls us
gravity is one force. And that's basically the force you get when atoms are moving together. They're attracted to one another and they will always flow. It's kind of like each atom. The best way to explain gravity is like, let's say you're laying down on a mattress and you lay down on it, there's always that indentation. And anything that's near that indentation will be attracted to it. So each atom has its own little gravity.
Thank you, James. I appreciate this, and perhaps you and I can continue the science
Sure.
conversation a little after. But I want to be able to finish. I want to close with these two prayers. So if you can turn it to the next page, Hazan Tilshin. These are two prayers that we say every single morning as Jews that acknowledge what I'm teaching here today, what we've discussed here today. So this like concretizes. So every day we remember these things that are, maybe we're thinking about it during the class, but then we go and we're, in the grocery store or we're doing other things and we're not thinking about who, we are in relationship to this divine presence. So we wake up in the morning. You're probably familiar with this. You may be familiar with this prayer. Modeh ani lefanecha. Modeh is thankful or grateful am I before you. Notice the order. We don't say I am thankful. We put gratitude before our own ego. Because I don't know, if you're like me, but I wake up in the morning and I just feel like I was like having such a great dream and everything was so perfect. And now my alarm, and it's like, it's hard to get up. But Judaism says just say thank you before you even get into your own head. It's like, God, get into my head before I do. So you say modeh, thank you. Modeh, incidentally, comes from the same word as Yehudim, Jews. Jews are those who are grateful, who say modeh. Modeh, thank you. I, lifanecha, before you. So there's something that we are standing before. Melech chai v'kayam, this source of both chai, life that's like vibrant, chai, 18, Am Yisrael chai, and kayam, which is like just to be physically here. I'm standing up. So we're acknowledging first thing in the morning that, wow, we're both fully alive and we are just physically here. Because there are times when we can be physically here and not feel fully alive for many reasons. And there are times that someone can be fully alive and not physically in the world anymore. So we're acknowledging that we're both chai and kayam, alive and existing. This is the part, shehechazarta bi nishmati, that God has returned our soul to us lovingly. So where did our soul go? Why does it need to be returned to us? There's this idea that during the night, our soul has this like little journey and it goes and it learns from its source what it's here for. That our dreams are, the Talmud says our dreams are 1/60th prophecy, meaning that we have like our dreams tell us what are some things that might happen to us. We have some, there's some real substance to our dreams. And there's also some real, if it's 1/60th from divine source, that's 59 parts that are just a little bit of, whatever we are thinking about when we went to sleep or what happened during our day. But our dreams we're downloading from this divine source so that we can live stream in the morning. So we're saying thank you. We just say this prayer. You might have learned it like in Hebrew school, but it's this deep, deep idea that we have received some kind of download from God. We went somewhere during the night and now we're back in our soul. Our soul and body are together. And for that, we are grateful. And then I didn't translate the last line, Bechemla Rabba Emunatecha, which is that God, your faith in me is greater than my faith in myself. Rabba Emunatecha, God, your faith in me is so great that, you know what, I can get out of bed. Even if I was feeling like, can't do this day. No, God believes in us more than we believe in ourselves. So we are grateful and we can do this. We can be both alive and physically present. We can be both physically present and alive. The next one, and we're at 131, but I'll just go through it quickly. The next prayer that we say in the morning is Elohai neshama shenatata bi tahurahi. God, the soul that you have given me is pure, meaning it's just perfect. Like we all are this divine light. Again, things get globbed onto it from the material physical world. You know, pain, embarrassment, fear, regret, loss, all of this kind of darkness, but we are this pure light from beyond. So you've given that to me. Every day I get a chance to refuel, to re-experience that divine light. You created it, you formed it, you breathed it into me. It's like every day we're like, God is exhaling and we're inhaling. You know, like when we wake up, we're receiving this piece of God. You breathed it into me and you preserve it within me. One day you will take it from me and then you will return it to me in a time to come. So can you believe this is what we say first thing in the morning? It's so deep. If these are your only prayers all day, you know, and this is just a tiny piece of the 100 blessings that we say a day, you know, traditionally. But if this is all you do to say, I'm part of something bigger, I'm carrying this divine spark, and for that, I'm grateful. And I'm going to try to fan the flames of it today. I'm going to try to feel it and shine it as best I can. And some days we have to rely on other people to really help us with that, or to give us some of their light, because we're not feeling it. So my hope and prayer is that this session today filled us all with a sense of like, we're here for a reason, that our soul is inside of our body for a purpose, that we have the ability to shine and receive each other's light, and that there's never really a piece of us that is gone. We continue to shine. When we can no longer see the orb, our light continues, and to remember that and to shine it for each other. So I look forward to seeing you all next week. If you want to stay on for another, 10 minutes and talk, I'm here and I'm happy to continue the conversation. Thank you all. And especially thank you to Chazan Tilshin for putting this together for the collaborative.
I'm going to unshare for a second. Hold on. People are leaving.
Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I just want to welcome our visitors from today. I'm so glad that our visitors from Michigan. I hope you'll look forward to having you join us again. And, this is part of an ongoing series of really special learning with people like Rabbi Rachel. So maybe this will be a new opportunity for you to connect with some new community more broadly. And I won't be with you next week. Madalena will be sort of facilitating this meeting. I'll be in Israel, which I'm very excited about. And but this was so holy and so timely, Rachel, for me personally. So thank you for this beautiful presentation. And I just put in the slides. You can copy that and save that and look at those again if you found them inspiring. Okay, thanks everybody. Have a great week.
Thank you.
Bye.